I had an absolute blast in this session because everything that I planned totally ended up working out. I only over prepped a little bit in just how the ruins of Brelwood were going to look, but everything else that I planned for kind of came to a head. I was able to tweak things a little bit to match the actions of the players as they kind of naturally encountered them, and ended up working even better than I expected. But I got the players to make a pact. I got them to meet one of the main antagonists of the first chapter of the story, and I laid the groundwork for what they're going to be doing for probably the next 10 sessions. So it was a good day. Welcome, adventurers and fellow world builders. My name is Yadro, and this is Yadro Gaming. We just finished up our third session of our new campaign, and I have to say I did a pretty good job on this one. All of my planning pretty much came out exactly like I expected it to for what they were going to accomplish in the session. I overplanned a little bit because I kind of expected them to do a little bit more before they met our main antagonist for the first arc in Darla. You may remember her from The Quiet Year. I mentioned in this video that she was going to be a problem, and she is most definitely going to be a problem for the party. So the first thing that the party did in this session was continue on towards the ruins of the settlement of Brelwood. And along the way, they hit this strip in the woods where it was like this almost perfect line that went north to south, where there was this like yellow sort of vine in there. And there was just all sorts of like dead animals and creatures in that path. So it was just like a lot of piles of bones left behind to various creatures. So that kind of gave them pause. They had to work out a way to get through it. Nine was the first to walk up to it, and it kind of put him into basically like a mind-controlled state where he was forced to like walk into the like line of death and just kind of sit there and just wait. And took psychic damage as he was immobilized while he was there. So the party found out a way to rescue him, get everyone across by moving really quickly and like resisting the effects of this plant, and make it onward to go the rest of the way towards Brelwood. When they actually got to Brelwood, they were attacked by these two really exhausted-looking lumberjacks that I planned for, Glik and Earug, who were a couple. As the party went through, they attacked them, like calling them like they were specters or they were thieves. So clearly they've had some trouble here since the settlement fell, but these were the two survivors that stayed behind. Darrin actually recognized them, so he was able to like tell them like, hey, like let's stop fighting and talk about this a little bit. And after doing so, they decided to give safe harbor to the party. All they wanted in exchange was like a peaceful night of sleep, because they've been absolutely like accosted by this black kudzu in the area. And they were able to give the party a little bit of information. So this session was kind of a highlight for Darrin because he got to meet a couple people from the settlement that he had known. They gave him a piece of fabric that had the family crest of Darrin's family, the Drow family crest, which shouldn't be here because he thinks he's from a different dimension, but they found this on some bodies in the woods. So that gave Darrin a little bit of a pause and like, what's going on here? So that's just me working in a little bit of his backstory in a unique way to tip him off that his family might not be as far away as he thinks. So during the night, the party was kind of keeping watch at the window, and they noticed that there were some lights outside, and a couple of the party members succumbed to the effects of an illusion where will-o-wisps were calling them into the street, where Shay was tricked, Darrin was tricked, and Candy was tricked. So they all ran out into the streets to meet their various people from their pasts of interest. The rest of the party gave chase, and then a fight ensued where there was 3 will-o-wisps during the party, which is kind of a challenging encounter, but was kind of just to give some body blows for the encounter that may have come next. So some interesting dialogue that happened there with people from their past as they were trying to like figure out what was going on because they were totally bought into the illusion, but the party was able to persevere. So after that was over, they heard this like loud thud on the rooftop, and someone was calling to them through the chimney. And at the same time, the black kudzu was blocking the way out of the building. It was blocking the windows, so they couldn't see out or get out. So they were having a talk with this person up through the chimney, and they found out that it was Darla. Now, I believe Penny was able to get outside of the building, and I think Nine was able to force his way out as well. And in doing so, they looked on top of the roof, and on top stood a large drider. Definitely a half humanoid upper torso, and the lower half was a giant spider. So this individual was calling down to them, like her face was all like weird and mangled with like a smile that was like way too big and toothy. So she was kind of talking to the people through the chimney. She was talking to those two outside. And she had them kind of pinned, where if she wanted to, she probably could have killed them. I mean, this is Darla, after all. The Quiet Year built her up to be kind of a nuisance or a menace. So the party got to talking with her and eventually decided to make a deal with her. And what she wanted was to give them safe passage, was to bring more lumberjacks to town. In exchange, she would let them borrow this axe, this magic axe that they were sent here to find that could help them easily fell trees. The Woods Fowler axe, it was a magic axe, like a +1 axe, and then a +3 versus plants. So this is like kind of the artifact that's up here that helps out all of Brelwood, like knock down trees. So they weren't allowed to take that axe with them, but they could use it to actually fell the trees. Glik and Earug were able to locate that axe for them so that they could actually take what they needed to and get out of town. So in exchange for being able to use the axe and actually fell the trees, the party made a pact to usher people back here so Darla could have her pick of the men that came through, and so that she could bring this settlement back and rule over them as she had in the past. Initially, she had given them 1 month to do so, but they ended up talking to her like, hey, there's a lot of people around here, like we need more time. So she said, fine, you have 2 months. So we decided that was going to be 60 days. So now the party just put a clock on themselves for the rest of the campaign, at least this like first chapter. So typically, I don't like to put timers on parties. I used to back in the day because I think that adds a sense of urgency, but I had a lot of players saying that it just caused them stress and it just felt like they were forcing them down a path and it kind of ruined things for them. But they were kind of excited about the fact that they had like 60 days to come up with a solution to this problem. So that is what they were going to do. They have their 60 days and they're going to do whatever they can to try to survive this so their heads don't explode, as it was a pact. So since they had gotten Darla to agree to these terms, they decided, let's explore the ruins a little bit. They had free passageway, so every time that they went into a building, like the kudzu would pull back and allow them access because Darla appears to be in control of the woods here. So in doing so, they gathered up some supplies. They got a little bit of coinage, and they got a couple minor magic items that they can use out into the rest of the world. So they got their little bit of payday there. When I was actually like making up this week and what my prep was for, I kind of pictured this being an above ground dungeon where they would go like house to house and have to fight their way through some different types of like natural traps and work their way through here to get a little bit of background on maybe what Darla is capable of as she can kind of control the woods for her own respect. Yeah, I kind of thought that they would explore the ruins first and then meet her at the docks, but they just happened to like trigger a pretty high roll on a luck check that drew her out at night, which put them in kind of a compromised position. But I really like it because it put them on their heels, and they weren't really expecting that, and they weren't in a great spot after the fight with the will-o-wisps to deal with an entity such as Darla, who was in the house. So all in all, like all of my plans came through, which is great. That's kind of what I was hoping for. There's kind of a controlled environment where I knew they were going to spend pretty much the whole session in Brelwood, and I just had to make sure I had enough there for them. They did a really good job this session of role-playing with one another, speaking in character, to just discuss things as their characters would, and they kind of talked about, you know, what happened after the fact, and during it there was a lot of discussion. They wanted to properly word the pact that they made with Darla, so that was another tricky part that took a little bit of time. There was a couple different types of encounters that they had, like one fighting encounter and then a couple other like kind of puzzles that they had to work out with the different plants in the woods. So all in all, I threw a little bit of different types of things at them, and I let them kind of play around in the space and not try to interrupt them too much because they had a great session. I don't have a whole lot of like usable audio from this session because there was like a lot of crosstalk at the table because everyone was getting really excited and they were really worried about their characters and what they were doing. So a lot of the audio was kind of garbage, so I didn't end up including any of it. Well, I hope you enjoyed this little wrap up from this session. You can check here to look at the little short that I made that gives a little bit more of a detailed description. And all of those shorts are the notes that I send out to the players after the session is over to recap what the sessions actually look like. So check it out if you're interested. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. And remember, why be a player when you can be a god?